That's one thing we're trying to unlearn. Another thing we're trying to unlearn is can we unlearn being spectators so we can actually learn to be participants? Spectatorship runs rampant in almost every church, ours included. And so how do we unlearn being spectators to learn how to be participants? Another one would be that sometimes we think that mission was created for the church, when once we unlearn that, we can learn that actually the church was created to live out God's mission. Sometimes we get those backwards. And then of course we have to unlearn that church is a place we go and it is only Sunday morning, in order to learn that church is a gathering and a movement that's spread out all over the place. And so that's an important thing for us to do. Is I'm just content with the fact that we're not even at ground zero yet. We're still in that unlearning process. It's like if you're on the turnpike and you missed the exit, you're trying to find the quickest next exit to pull a U-turn and turn around to head back to the direction you need to. We've just been trying to pull a U-turn, find the nearest exit for the last year and a half to return to the mission of what God has called us to. And I think one of the biggest things we're unlearning right now is this idea that church is not a spiritual filling station as much as it's a catalytic equipping sending out to the week ahead. And we try to break that down many times each week, even in our gatherings. With our language is really important, with how we treat people, how we elevate or de-elevate Sundays and our gatherings and what we're doing the rest of the week, and we have a long way to go on that. But one of the things also is to make sure that people understand when they're dismissed on Sunday night, their worship isn't ending, their worship is just beginning for the week ahead. And if you ask anyone a part of Resonate, they'll tell you, man, like, you always talk about Romans 12:1-2, and I do. I love that verse because I think it encompasses this idea of not our worship ending, but our worship just beginning in the week ahead. In the NIV it says, therefore, my dear brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God, for this is your spiritual act of worship. An even better translation is in the Message, and the Message says this: here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your eating, sleeping, and going to work life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for Him. What a beautiful, beautiful understanding of being designed in mission. Paul got it. And Eugene Peterson has this beautiful language of helping us today realize what it means to unlearn and to relearn. And so we're sort of in that unlearning, relearning process. So that's number one. Number two is that we actually end with a benediction each week. It's a part of our newly defined fabric of our DNA and our tradition. And what we do. And we do that to remind people to learn, unlearn, and remind that we're called out into our week ahead. A benediction just means, it's just a Latin term, right? Bene dictus, two words smushed together. Bene, where we get beneficial or good, and dictus, where we get dictionary, meaning words or sayings. The good word, the good saying as we go out. You know, a rabbi in a Jewish setting with a benediction would raise his hands at the end, right? We're familiar with that. Now, the reason being is that a rabbi, when he would bless someone, would place his hand on their head. I would bless you and I send you out, and I bless you and I send you out. So when a rabbi raises his hands, he's symbolically as if he's saying, I bless you and I bless you and I bless you. His hands are raised to bless and to send everyone out into the week ahead. We don't do the Aaronic blessing, which is a very popular benediction. We don't do a benediction that's the same worded each week. It's simply a summary, kind of a Cliff's Notes version, like if you fell asleep in church and you missed it, let me summarize what we talked about tonight and why we're sending you out. Now, you don't have to do this, like don't stand up now, but as we end every service, and there hasn't been a service we've had where we haven't ended with a benediction, I would say as we close, would you please stand for the closing benediction? And people would stand and I'd say, would you look at me and receive the benediction? And I'll raise my hands and I'll say, brothers and sisters of Resonate, go. And as you go, and then I would summarize whatever, that was in about 30 seconds, and then I would simply say, God bless and bless God. Amen. As a way of saying, go into your week, and whatever we just talked about, you've now been equipped, now go. And I think that benediction helps us grasp this idea of unlearning, relearning, and reminding. And people love that benediction. I did it at our last church in Colorado. As our going away present, they had taken a picture of me without me noticing it. On my last week, they were behind me, and a picture of me, my back, like this, and then everybody out there standing and looking. It's one of the best gifts I've ever received. Because they said, we will always remember you by your benedictions. We will always remember you sent us out into our week ahead as missionaries, cleverly disguised as businessmen and plumbers and teachers and stay-at-home moms. I love that, and I hope that continues through ministry and what we're doing. So we're trying to learn that.